Alright, you guys, so this is going to be the Daiya update for the month. It's actually going to be really long, but I'm going to cut it up into several videos. I did about 807 pages worth of it.
Presented by Queen Rose. Daiya Country no Alice, Wonderful Wonder World.
Alright, so first of all, we're always going to choose our name. I always go with the default Alice. She's like, in the middle, I was attacked by a blue sensation. Its buoyancy falls me down and down. She's like, this darkness and the feeling of levitation can easily be escaping. She's like, I entered a futon in my room and fell asleep. That's how this happened. She's like, I'm just having a dream. This blue sensation is not real here. She's like, you can just open your eyes. That's easy. Open to wake them up from this dream and return to reality. I tried to get up early from my dream. Only to see this. She's like, even though I should have opened my eyes earlier, the feeling of floating does not go away when I do now. And it is not floating, but it is actually falling from the back that I am feeling. And she's like, there's a hole in front of you. No, go away. ... I saw a round hole in the distance. The sky is cut into a round shape. It's already in the hole, and I'm falling. She's like, ah. I keep falling, and this feeling is familiar somehow. She's like, ... The situation is the same as when I came to Heartland or Heart Country. From my ordinary world where I originally lived, which is not the same world of Heartland or Heart Country. There is a castle in Heartland that is the shape of a heart, which is also the name of the country, and there are rabbits that roar. This alone feels like a fairy tale, but fairy tales are far from dangerous. She's like, residents of this world carry guns and kill people. Anyways, it's impossible to be compared to my world. When I was brought into this dangerous and strange world, I fell out of a hole. And if you go through a long hole, there will be a Wonderland waiting for you. So she's wondering if this is the same. And she's like, but why am I falling out of a hole just as it was now? She's like, I don't understand what's going on. She's like, it's a dream. This must be a dream. ... But won't I wake up if I open my eyes? Like in the real world? ... And anyway, I must calm down. I arrange my breathing and calm down. I don't think this situation can be overcome, but I'll focus more on it than I am panicking. Only then did I realize that my body was supported. A sense of relief was born from the warmth I felt from a supported hand. She's like, I'm not alone. A well-known person. He looked at me and smiled gently. She's like, looking sideways, I see warmth, and there is a young man who had white rabbit ears on his head. She's like, Peter, what are you going to do this time? Because he's the one that dropped her into Wonderland the first time. ... He's just like not replying. She's like, white rabbit, Peter equal white. And she's like, it was him who brought me to Heart Country. He serves as the prime minister at the Heart Castle in that country. His face and head were nice, but there was something unfortunate inside him. She's like, yes, the face is good. The face is ... But he doesn't listen to people, and I didn't ask for this at all. Yes, our story isn't clear enough. Proceed, Feely, and interpret it as you like. I think that the long ears of the rabbit growing on his head must be a decoration. There are other regrets. He's a kidnapper who, like, spirited me away from my original country. She's like, still, I am grateful for having my room in Heart Castle. If I was thrown out as it was, there was a possibility that I would end up getting lost. So, no, I can't give my thanks to him. She's like, Peter, what are you doing? Answer me. She's yelling at him. Even though I had a room and got along with it, I couldn't show a sweet face to this rabbit, because there's something wrong with him. He is a pervert who comes into a person's room without permission, using the master key to do this, obviously, because he's dropping her somewhere, she thinks. In addition, he is a stalker. Who knows the secrets of what he should have never been taught? He's a kidnapper, a pervert, and a stalker, this person. He fell into the hole with me again, and this leaves little of a good impression. There is only a bad feeling related to this. She's like, even in a dream, this is a bad sign. Tell me something, Peter. Like, what's going on? And he still doesn't reply. She's like, there's no reply from Peter, and the sound of the cutting wind echoes in the hole. She's like, Peter, ... She's like, this is not a dream. This world itself may be a dream, but at least in this world, it's not clear if I'm dreaming or if this is reality. She's like, this situation seems to be different from the previous one. Thinking about that, things become clearer. After all, this must not be a dream. She's like, ... What are you doing? Are we moving? And she's like, the worst thing I can think of is that. It's easier to think of that than other things that I don't want to have happen. The last move is where I moved from Heart Country to Clover Country, and it was the first time that I fell away from Heart Country. And so now I am in the Clover Country, or was. She's like, I moved, and the common sense of moving from home to home is unique in this world. No, in this world. She's like, people do not move, crustal movements occur, and the entire landmass moves. There is no need to move furniture, and you do not have to move physically yourself. However, harmful effects also occur. What happened when Heart Country was no longer in Clover Country? She's like, the reverse happened. Not only land and buildings, but even people were, like, excluded from there. She's like, when I moved to Clover Country, the amusement park and the clock tower became, like, gone. Instead, forests and the Clover Tower appeared, and new encounters were made with new representatives. She's like, I'm happy for new encounters, but there are no people who I have become close to. And she's like, do I feel a kind of loneliness right now? She's like, if we're moving, who's left? Like, where are we going? She's asking him. And she's like, Peter, are you listening to me? ... And she's like, hey, are we moving? And he's just like, not responding. She's like, even though I asked a firm question, he just smiled again, a sticky smile. And she's like, I felt uncomfortable in him not answering about anything. She's like, he does not speak, but is still eloquent in his manners. It's always the same with him, without him listening to me. A white rabbit that sheds, like, everything he's told and negates it with his own talk. He just smiles and stays there, steady. She's like, it has all fallen together, like the day that I was drawn into him. She's like, Peter? ? I call his name again. ... After all, no answer is returned again. And she's like, but he is here, which is always the case. He's always just one step behind her. He is always the white rabbit who takes me to a place that I don't know. And she's like, hey, ... What are you thinking? Perhaps ... or are you kidnapping me again? He's like, not replying. So she's like, are you apart from Heart Castle? Like, have you disbanded from them? ... And then something happens, so she freaks out. And she's like, when I sighed, something happened. 1 or 2 of Peter's body became rose petals that began to peel off. She says, I was surprised when I opened my eyes. In the meantime, petals had become his entire body. Peter, she screams. And he replies finally, he's just like ... Alice. And he says her name. And then he's gone. During her crying scream, Peter's body suddenly became petals and soared around her. Red petals dance with the rich scent of the seasons. And the petals flow in the opposite direction of my falling. No, the petals are actually lighter, so it might just look that way to me. And she's like, the last petals that were there entangled in my fingertips as if regretting parting, and the petals also moved away from my fingertips after ... She's like, what? What is this? What's going on? And she's like, I thought this for a while, that the body that had been supporting me until now was out of balance, and as soon as this begins, I start to fall. She screams like, hey-ya! And she's like, it's like a roller coaster that's falling, and it speeds up and then goes quickly. When I was brought to Heartland, there was a white rabbit named Peter White. And at the time, he helped me with his unusual foot spring to get them on the ground. And she's like, or maybe he was just crazy and didn't know, like, if they were going to survive. She's like, but now I don't have a reliable man. And he disappeared as if he was petals in the sound of the wind. She's like, I'm still falling. I'm still falling. She's like, ah. She's like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I prepared for death and closed my eyes. Then opened and then put my hands in front of my chest to pray. She's like, death! She's like, freaking out. Someone shouts, ah! And she's like, this time I thought I died, but my body was wrapped in a soft touch. Since coming to this mysterious place, I've been overwhelmed by the dangers to my life. However, it has been safe until now, whether, like, my luck or is, like, turned bad or is still strong. She doesn't know. She's like, was the evil worked against me this time? And she's like, gently open your eyes to find out. And she's like, here, ... Like, where is here? I woke up looking around. This is a familiar place. Red, yellow, purple. It's a forest where mushrooms of various colors are cloistered. This is a mushroom forest, she thinks. Then I'm on top of the mushroom? It's still dim, and you move your eyes under your hands to, like, keep the light. This feels like it's certainly a mushroom. And you touch to see where you're sitting. This is not the country of Clover, ... She's like, but why did I come to Mushroom Forest? And what is happening now must not be a dream. The impact I felt on my body was definitely reality. Something hits your hand and you look at it. There's a familiar container of tobacco there. Aquatic tobacco. And it's similar to her acquaintances. She's like, I must make sure that it's not broken by the impact from when I fell, but there doesn't appear to be damage anywhere, and my chest was relieved. This is a water smoking instrument. Speaking of which, I also feel like there was a strange voice when I fell. And I chose the bottom. Like, not to care. And there was no strange voice. It is probably just in my mind. And I think so, and look up at the sky. Only to have someone say, hey, ... She's like, I wonder what's going on, ...
Oi.
He's like, oi, hey. She's like, did I get involved in some strange malice? You cross your arms and look at the sky, still thinking, ignoring the calling voice. Ignore it or don't ignore it. And Nightmare pops up and he's like, don't ignore me, he yells at her. She's like, ah, yeah. She freaks out. He's like, I felt like I was smoking a lot of cigarettes waiting for you. It's a mess because you fell from the top now. Apparently the reaction that I felt to the mushrooms seemed to have been blown away by the fact that I had landed on the top of the mushroom from where I was riding. And when you're enjoying a cigarette, people falling from above is not an event that can be assumed in reality, most likely. If you encounter such a scene, it'll be a laughing stock of a story around the world at hers, like in her reality. She's like, it's good if it ends with laughter, but you'll probably worry people out of their head. Worse, you might actually get taken to the mental hospital. However, in the world that we are in, which is Wonderland, it's not really a wonder what happened to you and what happened with the surroundings. However, you're like, you can say how much an unhealthy man he is in front of you. And that he doesn't let blood out and needs to go to the hospital. So she's like, Nightmare, if you want to talk, say here. It's okay to smoke a cigarette if you do want. You sit on a mushroom and then try to get him to sit by your side. And the floating Nightmare also sat next to her. She's like, Nightmare, Goshak, the Dream King and then also the King of Clover territory. She's like a sick man with an eye patch that hides his right eye and silver hair. When I was in Heart Country, I'd only met him in my dreams. And she's like, since moving to Clover's country, I was able to get along with him. I was relieved to meet people who didn't change all the time in such a strange place. She was like, it was good, this country of Clover that he governs. But he's just a worm that I've been attracting to my dreams. He's like, I don't want to just have, like, myself suit you. And there are other things besides worms and insects. And he's like, I'm great, eh? I'm a lord. And it, like, cuts off. He's trying to boast. She's like, Nightmare can read people's hearts, and he read my heart and responded to it just now. With that childish reaction, I feel more and more uncomfortable with him being called a lord. While I was disgusted, I was also drawn in to dreams with him and bothered as his subordinate. She's like, even though he is so bad that he can vomit blood and he hates the hospital, he does not do work easily. And he needs, like, attention. In order to get the job done, it seems that he is extremely quick to be upset and then takes, like, a childish mood. He's so childish, she thinks, ... He's like, I'm not a kid. I'm not a kid. And she's like, ... question mark. I believe he's telling her, like, even though people were feeling, like, worried about you, ... Nightmare reached for a cigarette, and while doing so, a good fragrance drifted to her. The scent is ... And she's like, the flavor of it tickled her nose. It's a refreshing scent, but it is not the scent that Nightmare usually likes. She's like, this is the flavor of mint.
頭のすっきりするいいフレーバーだろ?
He's like, surprisingly, isn't it a refreshing and good flavor? She's like, it's rare, ... And she's like, I actually like mint. There are a lot of flavors in the smoke instrument, but this one, I can enjoy it. She's like, you prefer a sweeter taste usually. She thinks, however, he is a cool guy, and it's not strange that he smokes mint. But it got stuck in her throat, strangely. And she's like, why? He told her, I'm thinking about clearing my head, and he asked her if this, do you think, will wake me up? And she's like, do you smoke to get rid of sleepiness? She's like, then don't be lazy and work harder, so that way you don't feel sleepy. She's like, there's no point in smoking. Go back to work. He's like, but I was thinking about going back to work if I smoked this, after he like freaks out for a second at being called out. And he's like, it's not just me. I could wake you up at the same time too. And while saying so, he exhaled smoke from the instrument. Mint flavor smoke envelopes their whole bodies. She's like, ah. And because I was sprayed suddenly, I was surprised. He's like, would you like to wake up now? I can see which way that you can go. She's like, ... She's like, I'm awake, ... Don't worry. She thinks she's not dreaming right now because she felt the impact on her body from hitting the mushroom. And she's like, as usual, he is a good dreamer to be able to confuse people. And if you don't have your eye on him, then you wouldn't know that you are awake, she thinks to herself. She's like, yes, even if this is a dream, my eyes are open. No more waking up. So he actually contradicts her. He's like, is it really a dream, or are you actually awakening from the dream right now? She's like, ... What? Nightmare exhaled smoke again, it says. He asked her, okay, Alice, why did you come from the sky, and who brought you? She's like, speaking of being brought here, she's like, I wonder if he knows about Peter. He went somewhere, but ... She's like, I wonder if I've been to this place. When I was sleeping, I suddenly fell out of a hole. And she's like, I didn't like it. I fell from the sky. He asked her, did you just go to bed and were drawn to such a place? You seem to be liked by this country a lot. He's like, to be lured here in your sleep. And she's like, if it wanted me like this, then I don't like it. And you try to look away from his strange eyes. She's like, it doesn't have enough hearts here. He's like, no, you'll be fine. One real heart is enough. You don't need so many. He pauses and then comments that I didn't think you would get lost so far like this. He's commenting on like where she ended up. And she's like, ... get lost. She's like, I shot my eyebrows up. And that's right, since I came to Heartland, Nightmare has been reminiscent and does not give clear answers. She's like, an unpleasant feeling revives again. Bad things always happen suddenly here. She's like, where, ... am I?
キノコの森だよ。君が知っている通りにね。事実、私はここにいるだ。
Nightmare responds, he says, Mushroom Forest, as you know. In fact, am I not here? She's like, that's right. I didn't know why I was in the forest of mushrooms when I was sleeping.
それは私の知るところではないな。ただ、引っ越しが行われたことは確か。
He comments that that's not something that I would know, but I'm sure that the move was done to you. And she's like, huh? She's like, now, what's wrong with this? ...
行き違いじゃないよ。引っ越しが起こったんだ。
And he's like, it's not a mistake, Alice. A move has happened to you. And she freaks out. She's like, well then, ... Where is here? ... She's like, this isn't Clover Country. But the nightmare is here. ... She's still thinking. She's like, moving? Isn't it a lie to say that it's been a move? She's like, if a move was good, why do I feel a bad premonition? And she's like, because there is a nightmare here, like everywhere else, ... I was feeling relieved still.
待て、どこへ行くつもりだ?
He freaks out because she's about to take off in shock. He's like, wait, where are you going? She's like, I stand up to see how it has changed, to make sure that it wasn't true, but Nightmare grabbed her arm. She's like, oh, let's go see what the land is like, see who's left here.
落ち着くんだ。焦っても引っ越しが起こった事実は変わらない。
He's like, be calm. Even if you're impatient, the fact that a move happened doesn't change. And she freaks out. The move has already happened, that's right. A fact that can't be overturned, like it can't be undone. And even last time, nothing changed, even if I hurried off. There is no choice but to take it in stride. I have to adapt. It has been so since I came to this world.
この国は少々厄介なことになっている。このまま行くことはお勧めしない。
He's like, this country is a little tricky. I don't recommend going this way. She's like, huh. I take a breath to calm down. It doesn't change even if you rush anything. She's like, I can't change anything for me now. Because in this world full of violence and the insane, I'm an outside person who doesn't even have a gun. She's like, ... what would be the trouble with waiting? She's like, although until now it was full of troublesome things and it felt almost too much.
今までいた国よりも荒れていると言えばいいかな。少々危険だ。
He comments and cuts into her monologue, her inner one, and Nightmare's like, I wonder if it is worse than the country you've been in. It is a little dangerous here. And she's like, it's a little joke. A little dangerous? She's like, it was dangerous enough until now with every place I've been. Furthermore, this is a dangerous story.
ま、君はよそ者だ。そこまで危険は及ばない。
Nightmare tells her, well, you're an outsider, so there is no danger.
この世界の住人には無条件で好かれるからね。
He comments, even now, the outsiders are unconditionally liked by the residents of this world. And she's like, also, something gets caught in his throat. She's like, it's always normal for him to be this sloppy when replying. She told him, thank you for that, but it's still uncomfortable when you say it again and again. Because he's constantly told her this throughout all of the games, that like she has an easy pass through their world because the outsiders are liked. She's like, I'm referring to it as a study report in this world because it is like a book from the world of sand, and I'm not sure exactly what that is, but that's like her quoting someone. She tells herself it's a strange thing. It's not a good way of calling someone. I don't like it, the word outsider. And she's like, the remnant is conveniently and unconditionally liked by residents of this mysterious country. It is advantageous in this world where it is easy to be killed by anyone, ...
自分と向き合えば君が行きたいところへと帰れるはずだ
He's like, hello. If you face yourself, though, you should be able to go back to where you want to go. So he's saying you could either go back to Heart Country or Clover Country, ... She's like, open those roaring doors? Nasty, ... I can't. And she's referring to the doors in Clover, which are supposed to be interdimensional doors, that if she opens it knowing exactly where she wants to go, it'll take her there. The role holders are barred from using them, and they try to keep her from using them too, because she could end up back in our world if she doesn't know where she's going. She's just like, I'm not using them, because they constantly call out to her saying that they can like take her where she wants to go. The doors that were here weren't hiding, and it is a strange door that tries to invite you to open it up. She's like, it seems that you can go any place you want to go, but first you just have to open the door, ...
ドアを開けろとは言っていないよ開けなくても開ける
He tells her, I didn't say that you should open the doors, ...
君は2つの世界でいろいろな時間を見てきた特別な存在だ君は今ここにいる君以外この世界のどこにもいない
He tells her that you are a special person who has seen various times and people in two actual worlds, but you are nowhere else in this world except you are here and you're there too. So he trails off with that confusing explanation. And she's like, I'm going to be confused by you. I'm going to be confused, but it's a common thing that happens here. And she's like, I'm here, so I am nowhere else, right?
君にとってこの世界は異常だろうが逆もまたしかりよそ者の普通とはこの世界の特別なのだ
He tells her, for you, this world will be unusual, but again, the survival rate of someone like you is special in this world. So he's like, it's still the same, ...
君が知りたいと思っていた過去の時間がこの国には溢れているその目で見てまた戻ってくればいい
He tells her that the past that clouds this time is where you're going to find what you wanted to know, and that the knowledge is overflowing. He's like, look at it, and just come back to us afterwards. And she's like, the past that you wanted to know? ... Whose past?
どこかの誰かそして君自身
He tells her someone's, and also yourselves. Like your own past. And she's like, I know that I did want to. And she's like, but I remained in this world for all of you.
そう君はこの世界に残ることを選択したそれがこの国でないとしてもそこにいる人への愛着によって
He says, yes, Alice, you have chosen to remain in this world, ... even if it is not in this country. You have done so by attachments to the people here.
アートの国で君は選択してグローバーの国でも同じように結論を出した今回もそうなるよう願うよ
He tells her that you have chosen no one in Heart Country and yet still chose to stay. And he's like, you came to the same conclusion in Clover Country. And he tells her, I hope that this will also be the case again. Because they don't want to lose her. And they keep reminding her that she can come back. Like, she's just technically lost, they keep replying. And she's like, that is... ... She's like, if there is a place where you want to remain at... She's like, no, it's not a place, people. Whether you want to remain depends on who is left at the place that you're staying. And she's like, who? Who remained and who disappeared, ... It's a dream, isn't it? She asks him.
Ah, 夢じゃない。紛れもない。この世界での現実だよ。君がそう思うならね。
He tells her, oh, this is not a dream. And when he says that, you feel yourself is biased, but you suspect it might actually still be a dream. So I reached out to pinch my cheeks to see if it was real again. And then I did. I pinched myself because I didn't want to pinch Nightmare. I like him. And you're like, I pinch my cheek for as long as I can. And you're like, it hurts. And you think to yourself, oh, I was being too stubborn.
当たり前だろう。頬を集めれば痛いものさ。だから現実だと言ったの。
He tells her it's natural, that it's reality, so it hurts if you're always connected to it. And she's like, yeah, at least this doesn't seem to be a dream in this world, ... She's like, I'm holding my painful cheeks down. And she's like, oh, that is actually true. She's like, moving actually happened for me, ...
これで現実だと理解しただろう。しかし、君が夢だと思うならそれでいい。
He tells her, oh, ... You finally understand that this is the reality. He's like, well, if you think it's a dream still, though, it's fine.
目を開ければ、君の戻りたい世界に戻れる。君の戻りたい世界にね。
He tells her if you open your eyes, you can return to the world that you want to return to, though, ... And dialogue that has been heard once before causes her to shake her head vertically at the words of Nightmare. There is no place where you can escape and still return home. Awakening means returning to the original world, she thinks to herself. I opened my eyes earlier, so this is an unmistakable reality, Nightmare.
君がそうと決めたのなら、それでいい。ようこそ、ダイヤの国へ。
He tells her that if you have decided to stay, do so, that's fine. And he tells her, welcome to the Diamond Country. And she's like, Diamond Country, ... She's like, this is not a Clover country or a Heart country, so it's a country that I don't know. And she's like, if you decide that this is reality, you have to adapt, and I have to make sure that this is a place that I want to remain. She says, Nightmare, take me to the sky.
なぜ?
He's like, why? She's like, I want to see this country. I want to see what's happening now in it. Unexpectedly, the time zone changed, and I was in the middle of it. This world does not consist regularly in time. She's like, it suddenly turns from night to night, and from night to the side. The length of the time zone is not consistent. Time is always unstable, and the sky was cold. My short sleeves made me feel cold. She's like, this is actually a bit embarrassing, ... He's princess carrying her. She's like, I wanted to get a panoramic view of the country. However, there is some embarrassment in the composition of how he chose to took her, and that's in that princess carry. She's like strolling in the air with princess hugging going on, a fairy tale world. She's like, I asked myself, but I don't really have any stake in this. And she's like, I thought it would have been a different method. Tired of the current situation, she looked at Nightmare's face, which looked a little reddish. And she's like, maybe it's because of the sunset. She doesn't realize that he's blushing, probably. She's like, I didn't have close contact with him in the Clover country, ... Even in my dreams, I was closer to him in Heart country. And she's like, is he shy, maybe? He tells her, he says, I'm not shy. And you can see he is blushing. So cute. He's like, look at the bottom. This is Diamond Country. And she freaks out because it looks so different. She's like, looking around, I would have been impressed with the scenery seen from above. However, I couldn't enjoy it right now. She's like, what is this? Where is Heart Castle? Where is Clover Tower? ... She's like, the buildings that I know. There is only Hat Mansion that she can actually recognize for the Hatter Mafia. She's like, hey, why did you want me to know everyone in such a place? She's like, being in the past is nothing. Just the topography you see here is like something that's new for the first time. She's like, this is a bit too much. ... So he actually tells her, oh, so is it a big change for you? He's like, this time you were played, Alice. And she's like, what do you mean? So this actually matters, what he tells her right here, if it translated properly. He's like the last watchmaker and the last marquis, this time you were played, ... And then the last marquis was actually killed off. It's Jirocho, and he actually is supposedly the dodo bird and also the marquis, which he gets replaced by Galland, who is supposedly the duchess. So, like, they can kill off these characters and they can, like, die permanently from their role. I'm not too sure exactly what happens with their clock. That kind of ties into a couple different endings in this game. But basically, he's saying that her number was called. Just like these two people, the clockmaker who you find out later, like, actually was killed off in this world. This one's. And then was replaced by Julius in the world that she came from for Wonderland. And then also the dodo bird who was replaced and, like, Galland took the place of in the world that she knew. So this comes up right here. He's like, your number was called, like you've been played like them. And he doesn't explain anything. He just trails off. And she's like, huh? She's like, well then, do I know these very people that you're talking about? He actually explains here about what's going on in Daiya Country. He's like, mostly knowing is an understatement. In fact, no one actually knows you in this country. She's like, what? No one? ... She's like, that shouldn't be. At least the Hat Mansion for the Hatter Mafia is here. And you, Nightmare, you are here. Because you are here. She's like, you are exaggerating, ... What if you become a little more modest in your statements? He's like, yes, I am being modest. Like, optimistically speaking, about half of them may know you. He's like, however, it's also true that he confuses her with his statement when it was taken alone. And she's like, no Heart Castle. Even so, even though it was far away. She's like, it was always there, and I was always there with everyone, even in Clover Country.